so much, everybody, for joining us this morning, this afternoon, or this evening, whatever time zone you're joining us from. My name is Mike Howard, and I'm going to be talking with you guys about a new product that we've been working on, which is our performance management tool. This is part of our Innovation Jam sessions, where we are really looking forward to kind of showing off our latest and greatest stuff and getting your input in terms of what you think about it, what could be improved. And we expect to use that going forward to shape the direction of the product as well. So really encourage you guys to participate as we go through this. Again, my name is Mike Howard. I'll be the presenter here. I'm on the product team here at Perceptyx. I'm joined by Amy Creglow and Bill Baetz. Amy's a senior consultant with our professional services team, and Bill is part of our enterprise accounts team. They're going to be facilitating the Q&A and chat. And so if you do have questions as we go along, you can feel free to use either one of those interfaces. If you have questions that you want to keep private, you can ask them in the Q&A. Or if you just want to use the chat to open things up and start a conversation, that's great as well. And I'll be sure to get to as many of those questions and comments as I can during the presentation. And if for some reason there are some that we either can't answer or don't have time to, we'll be sure to follow up afterwards as well. So purpose of the session is, again, it's a sneak preview of our new performance management product. We've been developing this over the past months, and what you're about to see is a beta product. So we've been testing this internally and with a few select clients. We expect the beta to run through the end of the year. And after that, towards the beginning of next year, we expect to kind of set some launch dates for general availability as well. But right now we don't have an announcement for the date that we're going to do that general availability. But we really look forward to, again, the feedback that we're getting from you guys that kind of help shape that final direction that we take as we get to the finish line on it. Let's see, there was also just one thing I wanted to mention is that in addition to being able to provide feedback during this session itself, we have a follow-up survey that we'll send to you. I'll have the link at the end of the presentation. We'll drop it in the chat, and you'll also get a follow-up email as well. So again, we really would appreciate that feedback. Now, just a high-level overview of some of the functionality that we've been working on. The beta functionality that I'll be showing you today includes an overall dashboard that kind of summarizes some of the information that's in the more detailed modules, an objective and key result goal-setting module, peer recognition and rewards, on-demand feedback, formal ratings and reviews, and a section for employee profiles. Some of the upcoming functionality that we'll be working on include continuous conversations, progress checks, one-on-ones, that capability to schedule meetings throughout the year with your employees to ensure that they're making progress. Succession and workforce planning, which I'll show you a piece of that today. We're about halfway done with that one, but I'll show you some of that as well. And then integrated analytics and insights across the Perceptyx ecosystem to allow you to integrate performance management data with survey data from like engagement surveys, onboarding, exit, in order to distill insights across that rich database. Okay, at this point, I'm going to jump over into the live demo. Let me just switch screens here real quick. I just need the PowerPoint to cooperate here. Okay. There we go. Okay, so what we're looking at now is the dashboard. And so as a manager, so let's pretend that I'm logging in as a manager, and the first thing I'm going to see is this dashboard. We've designed it so that we have this action center in the top left of the page. And the idea behind the action center is to provide a kind of a one place that the manager or employees can come in and see all of the things that we'd like them to do. And so, for example, Ali has a review that's awaiting responses. Click here. Now, again, I'm a manager, and Ali is one of my employees. So we've got a review a review period going on, and I need to fill out Ali's review. So that's one of the items in my action center. I also have my own self-review to do, so that's here as well. We've got a review that's waiting signatures. We've got a feedback request. And I think you get the idea here. It's essentially all the things that we typically might email employees to say, hey, it's a review time, go ahead, go into this system, click here, do this, blah, 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 send reminders. We put all that information nice and easy into that action center so that they can always just kind of come here and see all the tasks that they have outstanding. We've also talked about putting some nudges into this action center as well. So as a manager again, for example, maybe I have an anniversary coming up for one of my employees, and I don't want to go and just kind of look at my HR data all the time to see what's going on there. The system can take that information and populate that in the action center as well. So it could say something like, your employee Adam has an anniversary coming up on November 23rd. Be sure to congratulate him. That kind of information and nudges are also something that we're expecting to put in the action center. The other widgets that you see here, kind of similar to the core Perceptyx platform, if you're familiar with that, where they're very customizable and they're intended to draw out some of the key information from deeper in the system. So for example, I have a widget here just kind of showing overall progress of my goals. So this is my overall OKR progress, a summary of whether they're on track, at risk, or behind. Some simple information about where we are in the reviews, what's been completed, how many are in progress, and all the different statuses there. A feed for some recognition down in the lower right. And just as an example of just some integrations that we can do outside of the system, we've put a Perceptyx newsfeed in here, which is a live feed from our company blog. And we could do that like with an RSS feed, if you had some sort of a CEO corner. Essentially, just this whole dashboard is meant to be a useful place for employees to come and see relevant information for what they have to do, as well as kind of what's going on in the company. Okay. Now, as I get a little bit deeper into the system here, I'm going to go ahead and move to the OKR module, which is the goal setting module for the system. And just to kind of orient you, we've got 3 tabs in this module, one for me, which is my OKRs, my goals, my directs, and my organization. The organization is, if I'm a manager of managers, I'd be able to have that top-down view of my entire organization. Before I start explaining kind of all the information that's in the lower part of the dashboard here, I'm going to walk you through just creating a new objective to kind of give you a sense for the information that does get entered into the tool. And so you can think of the objective as kind of if you're not familiar with OKRs, it's a high-level aspirational goal. It doesn't include metrics. The metrics come at the key result level. So it's kind of a hierarchical thing where so the objective is again, aspirational, no metrics, and then the key results kind of support that. So let me go ahead and enter in one. I've got some text I'm just going to copy over here. So maybe my objective is going to be to improve employee engagement and retention in my department. And I can set a target due date for that. This one I'm going to say, and these dates can be programmed by the administrators. I'm going to say this one's kind of a little bit longer term goal where I'm looking into Q2 2021. With OKRs, typically they're public so that they're visible across the company, but if for some reason they might include some sensitive information, we can make those private as well. We also have the capability to align them to company objectives. So this one, I'm going to go ahead and align it to this third one here, increasing engagement and retention. Okay, there we go. And the next step of this, once I get the objective entered, is to enter in those key results. And I can enter as many as I want. The normal recommendation for key results would be 3 to 5. So I'll just enter in a few here for example purposes. Okay, so create an engagement task force that organizes at least one team activity per month. And we're just getting going with that one. We're on track so far. That can be updated throughout the quarter as things may change. This one, I'm going to say it's either done or not done. So that's a complete or not complete. Like I've either created the task force or not. But as you can see in the dropdown, it also accommodates different metrics as well, including dollar values that might be used for a sales number, just raw numbers, as well as percents. And I'll show you a couple of those in a minute. But this one I'm going to leave as complete, incomplete. By default, I'm the owner of this key result. But if I wanted to, I can add in some coworkers as well that may have shared responsibility for it. Okay, and let me add in just a couple more real quickly here, just kind of give you a feel for how this works. Okay, so for the second one, increase engagement as measured by our annual engagement survey to at least 85%. We're on track. And this one, we're going to say it's a percent since we're looking at a percent favorable here. Maybe the starting value for my department is, maybe it's 80%. And as mentioned, I want to get this up to 85. Okay, and let me just do one more here. Okay, and the last one I wanted to focus on some turnover numbers as well. So increased annualized retention to 80%, on track. We're going to go with the percent again. Oops. And maybe the retention rate now is 75, and we want to get it up to at least 80. Okay, so I go ahead and I'm done entering my key results, so I can go ahead and review. I just get kind of a summary screen. And if I'm happy with it, I can go ahead and close it out and save it. And so that one now, as you can see, appears on the dashboard here. So this is the information that we just entered. And each of these other items that you see on the dashboard, those are also OKRs, and you can just expand and collapse them. You'll see some summary metrics, like all this information we just entered in. We haven't made any progress on any of them yet. They're all still on track. But as you have those conversations, like as I have as a manager in the system here, as I have those conversations with my employees over the course of the quarter or the half year, whatever that time period might be, those can be adjusted. So maybe we're slipping on retention. Maybe I've just had a few employees leave in my department, so we're a little worried. I can go ahead and move that to at risk. And anytime I make a change to an item on this dashboard, I get a dialog box asking me to make a note about the change. And this is useful, again, as I have those ongoing conversations with my employees throughout the year, or when I get to a review period at the end of the year, I can look back and I can bring up my progress log to see what happened. So I don't have to keep notes separately or anything like that. Like just in time as I update the progress, you get an interface so that we've got this notebook of items that continually just gets updated with any kind of progress that you've made. Okay, and you can see as all these widgets up at the top, those are designed to summarize what's going on as well. And they all update in real time, of course. So say I change this one to behind, you'll see that the number in the status summary in the top right there, the number jumps from 0 to 1. And of course, I get that interface to explain why it changed. So all the math happens automatically. We have filters as well as sorts, very similar to kind of what you'd expect, and it's very similar to kind of an Excel environment where you've got sort and filter capability. So for example, if I go over to the other tab, it's more useful on when I have a lot of different people to look at, for example, and say I might want to just look at Dana, I can use that search capability to just look at specific direct reports. Same thing with my organization, find specific people in the organization. I can run searches and sorts as well. Kind of one neat thing is like maybe I'm interested in finding out where progress isn't being made. So I can even search by the progress. Like maybe I want to look for people who are 20% or less in my direct reports. And that helps me kind of figure out, is there something to be concerned about, or maybe there's some reason that they're not making progress, and I can have that conversation with those directs. Okay, I don't see any questions coming in quite yet, but maybe I'll pause for just a second here because I'm about to move on to the next module, just in case there are any questions about the OKRs. And I can certainly come back to them later as well if you guys would like to see more. Okay. All right, well, I'll keep moving on here then. The next module that I'd like to show you is the recognition and rewards module. And the idea behind this is that anybody within the company can recognize their peers, coworkers, just for doing something amazing. And again, we've got this similar layout of the tabs up here where I can see all of the feedback in the company. I have some filters available if I want to filter it out by any kind of demographics that we've got loaded in here as well. So maybe I just want to see my department or my location. I can do some filtering there. I can look at the recognition that I've given as well as what I've received. And let me walk you through giving recognition. And so we have the company directory loaded here, and maybe I want to recognize a few folks on my team that have been working on this performance management product. And I can put as many names in here as I'd like. I'll stop here. And the way that we have it set up is we can align the recognition to your company values, company goals, something that's just important and relevant so that people know that they made an impact on what you're trying to achieve at the company. And so for Perceptyx, you may be familiar with our company values. You can see them here in our dropdown. We are a family, we're all entrepreneurs, we make our clients heroes, sustain the status quo, and live for mic drop moments. And so I can choose one of those values to align my recognition to. And then for the recognition provider, we ask them to tell a story about why the person deserves that feedback, just to kind of make the connection between some specific behavioral examples and what they did and why it's awesome and how it aligns to company success. And so I can put the story in here. And by default, we notify their manager, so we can send their manager emails as well, just letting them know that their employees were incredible. And as soon as I'm done with that, I can go ahead and give the recognition. And as soon as I do that, here, all of the widgets update as well. In the feed, we do have some social elements as well. Like for example, all employees can come in here, they can they can comment on things, etc. Try to make it a little bit more interactive. The kind of the default notification that we have, like Dana and Peter would receive an email letting them know that they've been recognized, but we can also push to other mechanisms as well, such as Slack. Like our company, for example, has a recognition channel that we will push our recognition to. So we've got it celebrated that way as well. A few of the widgets here, and again, these are customizable, similar to the core Perceptyx product. We have some information about activity, like the recognition that's been given by me, how much I've received, the frequency with which those values are being recognized. And we put a gamification type leaderboard widget in here as well. That's optional. I mean, but again, just to kind of see who's given the most recognition and who's received the most as well. Going back to these tabs real quick. So again, we can see the recognition that I've given if I wanted to look back on that. And so I've talked about recognition. Some companies also might want to do a financial component to it. So another feature that we can accommodate is an actual reward component. And so we've partnered with a vendor named Tango Card that allows us to link seamlessly over to their site, and it can be branded as well, where we can give employees a bank of money that they can use either quarterly or annually. And they might be able to actually give out like $25 or whatever denomination makes sense for you as part of that recognition, so they can get any kind of a gift card. And as you can see here, the catalog is vast. And so in addition to the gift card that they can select from here, there's also options to do charitable donations and things like that as an alternative. Okay. Okay. I don't see any questions coming in, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next module of the system, which is feedback. So whereas we just talked about the ability to kind of recognize employees kind of on demand, and usually that's for doing something incredible, this is more proactive, where I might maybe I just worked with Dana and Bartek on a project, and I want to get some specific feedback about what they think of my work. So it's not necessarily a positive thing. It could be very constructive as well. And so that's what the idea behind the feedback module is. And so if I request feedback, a familiar slide out comes out here. I can say Dana, or Bartek, Dana, and the system administrator can set up some standard questions in the system. For example, I've got 2 here. In your experience working with me, what are some of the things that you think I do well and should continue doing? As well as, in your experience working with me, what are some things you think I could improve on? So those are some standard questions that we've got just kind of programmed in there as the administrator. Those can be changed if you'd like. But again, one of the main ideas behind the feedback module is to get at that specific feedback that the person is requesting. So maybe I just did an executive presentation the other day. So I can ask custom questions as well. And I'll just keep it short here. And so you can ask specific questions, request feedback, and that'll send mails over to Dana and Bartek, letting them know that I've requested feedback from them. Dana's already given me some feedback, so this one, if I wanted to, I can go ahead and look at it. And then if I have outstanding feedback requests, those would appear on the Requested by Others tab. You may have noticed that when we first started the demo in that Action Center, there was also items saying that Maddie and Adam, they've all requested feedback from me as well, and I have that to do. So that would bring you right over to this feedback page and into the form to give that feedback as well. And so again, just kind of a simple slide out interface to answer the questions. And as soon as I give that feedback, the requester gets notification to come on in and view it. Okay. Okay, so that's feedback, fairly straightforward. Right now we support qualitative questions. We do have quantitative questions kind of in progress as well, in case we wanted to incorporate those as an option as part of feedback. Okay. And let's see. Okay, so jumping over to the next module, this is reviews. And so we included reviews just as we know a lot of companies still do use annual reviews and half-year reviews and whatnot. Some companies are moving away from them, but we do include it as an option in the system. And I should mention that all of these modules can be turned on and off fairly easily. It's intended to kind of to work as you need it to work. We don't force all of these modules on you. It's essentially whatever you need to use. So the reviews component, it's a fairly traditional workflow where I would have my own annual review. So again, this is me as a manager. I come into the system. I'm looking at the reviews that I have to do on myself. And so I've got one in progress here. This is my self-assessment, and I work through this similar to what you might expect. We've got some scaled questions. This one's on a 5-point scale, but it can be any scale that you'd like, as well as qualitative comments associated with those questions. We can save it as a draft, or we can submit it. I'm just going to leave it out for now. So that's my own review that I need to do as an employee. But as you can see, we also have a place where you can jump over to for my directs. And so I've got to, let's see, I need to fill out Ali's review. And again, you may have noticed that in the Action Center as well when we started the demo. That's one of the tasks I need to do. So Ali has already filled out his ratings. Like Ali rated himself as exceed expectations. And so now me as the manager, I'm going through this and I can provide my ratings as well. And Ali made some comments. I can make some comments as well, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, and again, you can either submit it or save it as a draft and work on it later. Okay. Another status is, like I said, once the reviews have been completed, it goes for signatures. And so we do fully support digital signing as well. So this one, as you can see, all the text has been entered. So Bartek's already submitted. I've already submitted my ratings and comments. And at this point, we're ready to sign it. And once it gets signed, it goes over to HR. So I can sign and submit it. And a dialog box comes up, and it's similar to what you may have seen on other websites that require digital signatures. You need to match exactly whatever the name is to submit that one as well. And so that would sign it. Okay. And so that's where reviews are at this point. We do plan some enhancements for reviews as well going forward. For example, we would like to incorporate a slide out panel where when the employee and when the manager are doing the review, we pin some information about kind of what happened over the previous time period. For example, like how much progress they made towards their OKRs, any kind of recognition or feedback they've received, et cetera, so that information can be used and incorporated into the review itself. Okay. Okay, so the last piece that we've got in beta right now is it's the 9-box for succession planning. And again, this part, it's about halfway done. We've focused on doing the visual element right now, but the purpose of this one is to be able to quickly identify employees who might be ready for a promotion or might be ready to move on to another position. And I like to use the example of, like, say we have a sales position open in Lincoln, Nebraska, and we're trying to find someone who's ready now and they're willing to relocate. Um, and we can include any other demographics as well. We might include some performance information. Maybe they need to be able to speak Spanish. And so that's the idea behind this is we'll have a filtering mechanism in here where you can put in your query. And once you hit submit, anybody who meets that criteria will pop up on this 9-box. So you can quickly and easily kind of internally recruit people, again, either for open positions or in your succession planning process or whatnot. And so the visual 9-box that we've got here, we've made it so that it makes calibration meetings super easy, so that maybe you've got the manager of these people in the room and you're talking through the performance and readiness and things like that. And you have that conversation in real time, and you're like, oh, Logan, is Logan really in this box? Well, maybe not, but maybe you land on bringing Logan over here. It's all designed to be drag and drop, and all of this gets recorded as well, so that again you can kind of track what's going on. It'll be exportable, so that once you get your 9-box set in those calibration meetings or in your internal searches and whatnot, you can export that to PDF as well and share that with whoever might be appropriate. So that's the idea behind the 9-box. And the last piece of the system that I kind of mentioned but we're still working on is the progress check module. And so I'm going to just jump back to the PowerPoint to just kind of talk through a few bullets of kind of what we have planned for that. And again, would love your feedback on any of this. I can go back into presentation mode here. Okay, so yeah, and so the last piece that I'm going to talk to you guys about before we open it up to kind of some final Q&A is that the ongoing progress checks. And so the idea behind this is to keep that conversation going throughout the year between employees, managers, their teams, where the system will support scheduling one-off or recurring employee and manager meetings, where the timing can be super flexible. I mean, it could be a weekly one-on-one, could be a monthly or quarterly check-in, et cetera. Just whatever works for the cadence in your company that you'd like to implement. We'll be able to ask questions in advance of the meetings as well to kind of help them prep for the meeting and have things to talk about. And that information can go into the agenda, and the agenda can be something that is collaborative between employees and managers, where they both kind of can put into the system items that they'd like to talk about. And then kind of the last main component of it is a note-taking feature as well, where there can be public and private notes, where the public notes, of course, would be visible for the employee and the manager to see. But both of those folks may also have some private thoughts that they want to maintain in the system for posterity, but they may not want to share with either their manager or the direct. So we'll have that type of feature functionality as well. Okay. All right, and so at this point, we are kind of at the end of the demo as well as the kind of the presentation part of it. And so I'd like to just kind of pause here. I don't see any questions coming in on the chat or Q&A, but if you do have any, I'm happy to stick around and talk about them. As mentioned earlier, we do have an additional survey that we'll be sending out via mail, or the link here you can see on the screen as well. This really, it helps us tremendously. So I know that you guys, I'm sure, get bombarded with surveys, but it really will help us shape the product in the future. So we appreciate it tremendously if you would help us by filling that survey out. It'll ask some questions about what you just saw in terms of the performance product, as well as our core Perceptyx platform. Okay. Okay. At this point, I think it looks like we can wrap up. Again, I'll stay on the line for another minute or two in case anybody has questions. But thank you so much again, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.